Hello guys, and welcome back to my channel. Today we're going to talk about how you can easily hit your protein goal every day. So if you're kind of new to tracking macros and you're struggling to get in enough protein, you're definitely not alone. This is super common struggle that people have when they first start tracking because most people don't naturally eat a diet that is high in protein. So it does take some adjustment. But I have been tracking for several years now, and I'm at the point where I can easily eat 140 grams of protein a day without even really thinking about it. So if you've been struggling with this and you feel like you have to force feed yourself chicken breast and eat like an entire pound of chicken breast every day to reach your goals, then this video is for you. So let's get into it. So before we get into the actual tips, I wanted to talk about why you should care, why protein is actually important. Now, if you clicked on this video, you probably know that you should be eating more protein. Maybe someone told you that you should increase your protein intake, or you plugged in your information in a macro calculator and it gave you a protein goal that's much higher than what you're naturally eating. The reason that a lot of people recommend increasing your protein intake, especially if you're looking to develop a more lean or toned physique, is because being lean or toned means that you have muscle mass underneath and you have a low enough body fat percentage that you can actually see that muscle mass peeking through. So if you want to build muscle, protein is super key for that because that is the building blocks of muscle. Protein is broken down into amino acids, which is then used to build up that muscle mass. So you need to have enough protein intake for that. And then if you want to decrease your body fat percentage so that you can actually see that muscle, protein is super important for that as well. Protein is the most satiating macronutrient, which means it will keep you fuller for longer. And if you're trying to eat in a calorie deficit to lose fat, that definitely helps you out because you can feel fuller on less calories. And protein also has a higher thermic effect of food, which means your body actually burns more calories to digest protein compared to carbs and fat. So that will also help you to increase your calorie deficit and lose fat. Now that we know why you should be eating more protein, let's talk about how much protein you should actually be eating. So I typically recommend 2.2 to 2.4 grams of protein per kilogram of lean body mass. So if you know your weight in pounds, you can convert that to kilograms. And then if you have a general idea of your body fat percentage, to find your lean body mass, you would just take your weight in kilograms and subtract the body fat. So for example, if we have a 150-pound person who's about 20% body fat, we would convert their weight in pounds to kilograms. So that would give us about 68 kilograms. And then we would multiply that by 0.8 because we're subtracting the 20% body fat, and that would give us their total lean body mass. Then we're gonna take her 54 kilograms of lean body mass and multiply that by 2.2 to 2.4. So this person should be eating at least 120 grams of protein every day. Now that might sound like a lot to some of you, but this is how we're gonna get there. So step number one is to divide your total protein goal by the number of meals you have in a day. So if you eat 4 meals a day or like 3 big meals and snacks throughout the day, you're gonna divide your 120 grams of protein, or whatever your protein goal comes out to be, divide that by 4. So in this example, that's gonna be 30 grams of protein in each meal. Now, once you do that, you're gonna make sure that you base each of your meals around a protein source. So when you're deciding what you wanna eat for breakfast, your first question should be, what is my protein source in this meal gonna be? And then base the rest of your meal around that. So for example, I have oats every morning for breakfast. In those oats, I put egg whites and protein powder, so that is my protein source. And that's how I'm able to get in 30 grams of protein in my breakfast. I think where a lot of people struggle with protein is that they don't have a good source in their breakfast or their snacks, and they're trying to get in their entire protein goal in just their lunch and dinner, which is gonna be really difficult, and it's gonna feel like you're eating a pound of chicken breast in that meal. But if you're able to break that protein goal up across all of your meals throughout the day, it's gonna feel a lot easier to reach that goal. Number 2 is to pick quality protein sources. Now, what do I mean by that? A good protein source is something that is not only high in protein, but is lower in carbs and fat. And the reason that's important is because if all of your protein sources have carbs and fat as well, it's gonna be really hard to hit your protein goal without going over on those other macronutrients or on your total calories for the day. If you have protein sources that are pretty much just protein, like egg whites or lean chicken breast or protein powder, then if you get to the end of the day and you're putting all of your macros in and you're a little bit short on protein, you can just add in a little bit of that to hit your protein goal without going over on everything else. Another thing I wanted to add with that is that I wouldn't recommend using protein bars as one of your protein sources. And the reason is because most protein bars are high in carbs, fat, and calories, and you could pretty much have an entire meal with the amount of calories that are in a protein bar. So especially if you're trying to lose fat or be in a calorie deficit, protein bars are not gonna be the way to go because you could eat so much more food and be so much more full from the same amount of calories if you just ate whole foods. Protein bars are great for if you're on the go and you don't have time to cook, or if your calories are high and you're trying to get them in, but I really wouldn't recommend them if you are in a calorie deficit or even in a maintenance and you want to be eating a little bit higher volume foods. And number 3 is to find a good quality protein powder. Now, I wouldn't recommend getting all of your protein from protein powder. You're going to be better off getting most of it from whole foods, but it is nice to have protein powder on hand to supplement. My personal favorite protein powder is from Axe & Sledge. It tastes delicious and it's pretty good quality and it has a full spectrum of amino acids, but you can find whatever one works best for you. And you don't just have to use it in a protein shake where you mix the protein powder with water or milk. There's so many fun ways to use protein powder. Like I said earlier, I add it in my oats. You can add it with Greek yogurt. You can make pancakes with it. So it doesn't have to be boring. You don't just have to have it in a shake. There's a million different things that you can do with protein powder to make a really delicious meal that is also high in protein. So now let's break that down into what you could actually eat to hit that goal. So if we take our example of 120 grams of protein with 3 meals plus snacks, starting with breakfast, I would have protein oatmeal. That's my personal favorite high protein breakfast. I have it every single morning. So I will take my oats, I add egg whites in with the water when I cook them to get a little bit of extra protein. It also makes the oats a little bit thicker, which is how I like them. And then I will also add a scoop of protein powder to get in that 30 grams of protein in my breakfast. And I like to top mine with peanut butter and banana, but you can do whatever toppings you prefer. Next up is lunch. I like to prep mine ahead of time, so I cook it on Sunday. That way it's ready for me throughout the week when I'm at work. And my favorite meal prep lunch is ground chicken or ground turkey. I like that because I find it heats up a little bit better than regular chicken breast, and it's easier to cook because I don't have to cut it up. You could also do regular chicken breast and cook it in the crock pot with some chicken broth, and that makes kind of a shredded chicken, which works as well. And then you can add that with whatever carb and veggie source you like. I'm gonna do rice and broccoli. Dinner, I feel like, is usually the easiest place to get protein in. Just make sure when you are picking your dinners for the week, you base it around a protein source, whether that's chicken or fish or beef. Just pick your protein source, and then you can add that to whatever carb and veggie source you like. For this day, I'm gonna make orange chicken. So I have my chicken breast, the orange chicken sauce, and then rice and a vegetable. And that just shows you that chicken breast doesn't always have to be boring. You don't just have to take a plain chicken breast and fry it up in a pan with salt and pepper. You can make it interesting and make fun meals that are still healthy and fit your macros. Then last but not least, we have our snack. My favorite high protein snack is a Greek yogurt bowl. So I would just take plain non-fat Greek yogurt and mix it with whatever I want to make it taste good. So I like to do sugar-free Jell-O mix. You could also do sugar-free coffee syrups. You can add peanut butter or powdered peanut butter like PB2 for a little bit of a lower fat option. And then I like to top it with something to give it some texture. So I'll do fruit like berries or sometimes even chocolate chips if I can fit it in my macros. So you can kind of customize it to whatever you like and whatever fits in your calories and macros for that day. And there you have it. That's how you can easily get in 120 grams of protein without having to eat boring plain chicken breast all day long. You can have meals that are delicious and that you enjoy that also help you to hit your protein goal and reach your fitness goals. So you obviously don't have to follow this exact plan. This is just an example and some recipe ideas that you can use, but feel free to mix it up to fit your preferences, what you like to eat, and also fit your specific protein and calorie goals that you have right now. So I hope you enjoyed this video and found it helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I will see you in the next one.